Hey. Welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, 30-plus year video game enthusiast, industry analyst. Today, for April 29th, 2025, I'll go through the latest gaming news where I've been playing. You know the drill. Maybe you're new, but we've got Chris and Ultronimus in the house already. What's up, guys? You guys know what's going on. Also, starting with this episode, I'm now going to start streaming to Twitch, just in case you would rather do Twitch. I'm just going to see if that really does anything, since even though I love using YouTube and it's so much easier, there could be more gamer people to find me on Twitch. So I'm gonna do that. And it's before I would do that, but then with the older streaming technology, it would cause, having to push that data stream to two platforms usually cause a lot of issues, but I think it's working out now. But we'll see. Well, yeah, let's start with what I've been playing, actually. Let me, actually, do I want to do any, like, pre thing? Is there any pre thing? No, there's not. Okay. We'll just get into it then. All right, here we go. So, first on the list, what I played the most of yesterday is Clair Obscura Expedition 33. And I know I've been talking about it this week, but it's like with these types of games, I want to really, really get in more and more. And at the end of the day, this type of game does not fire my neurons, I guess I'm trying to say. Like, the exploration, it's beautiful, but it's very linear, and there are branching paths that give you goodies. But nothing substantial. So the exploration, you're not really going to get much out of it, even though it looks great. And then even the gameplay, the combat, I've gotten further where there's more things I can do, and it's interesting. This game is very interesting. I was listening to, Seasoned Gamers, is that what it's called? The podcast. They do the live show with Hoag's Law on Sundays. And it was funny how Hoag was saying this is a Souls-like, straight up. And then Ains was like, no, it's not. But you know what? It kind of is. It's like the original Dark Souls, where flags are bonfires, right? But you're like, well, then what else makes it Souls? Because this is the loop of the game. You explore, but it's very, it's, you know how Dark Souls wasn't super open world? You know, it had the linear paths, but they're all branched to shortcuts. That's what's going on in Clair Obscura. There's kind of like an overworld where then you could go to other places, but then you can fast travel, and then when you get into a combat, if you don't know the enemy, you have to learn what they do for the first time, the timing. Because, like in Souls, the best way you could beat a boss is to memorize the patterns so you can dodge and kill them. That is literally, even though Clair Obscura is turn-based, it is a Souls-like turn-based game. Sure, you can get your attack in, but then when it's time for the enemy to attack you, you need to be able to parry or dodge, potentially parry most of the time. I've learned in the game, if you parry most of the time, you can take them out really quick. If you dodge, it helps, but it doesn't work. It's just... And here's the thing, you want to fail at parrying at the beginning a whole lot. It's the only way you're going to learn how to parry. But even if you learn how to parry, every new enemy is going to have a new move. So there's no way that you could go in and know exactly what to do, right? And that's just like Dark Souls. When you go to a boss, you don't know what their move's going to be. So let's say you beat a boss in Clair Obscura, and then you start exploring. Well, your health is down depending on what you did in that boss, so you have to replenish your health. Find another bonfire where you can rest and then upgrade your stats to then move on to the next area where you're fighting enemies that it's all about the dodging and parrying. So to me, this game is a Souls-like. I think the presentation and story makes it seem like more traditional JRPG in context of the action seeming like it is turn-based. But once you really get into the game, because there's areas where, just like Souls, I remember where I was running past the enemies and not bothering with them because I was like, well, my health is low. I need to find a bonfire slash flag. It's a flag in this game. And so it's the same feeling of gameplay where it's like, okay, I'm going to dodge these enemies and try not to, oh no, an encounter. Oh man, if I die, oh, now I have to go back. Like, exact same thought process as Souls. So what does that mean for me moving forward with this game? I don't know if I could play it too much more, because then once that reality clicked in, it's like and again, this is just me personally, because not everyone will feel this way. But for me, as someone that really likes action games, action adventure games, this is just a kind of a muted experience. It's sure, really cool story, amazing visuals, amazing. That is where they focused everything else. But the actual gameplay is really nothing new or different. In fact, I tend to get bored, and then every time in Clear Obscure, I've never been in a situation where I died and then I can't do this, because if you die, it's like, oh, then I have to dodge, or I have to parry that and then build up this, because then that will have its weakness. Okay, that's easy, and then so every time I stop playing, it's more like, well, yeah, I killed that guy, I guess I'll stop for now. So I'm just proud of myself. It's almost one of those things where it's kind of like when ReFantazio came out. Everyone's excited about it. Seems like a big deal in gaming. And I didn't play it because I'm like, it's not for me. Clear Obscure, I wanted to try. It's better than I thought it would be. I'm going to say that. It's not a bad game. But it's like kind of it's a game for people that, and I think I've said this before, and I think this is very common nowadays with different developers. It's a game for people that don't have a history of playing video games. That's how I see Clear Obscure. And yeah, you could say, oh, but that was in this and that was in that. Yeah, sure. They're grabbing those elements and kind of presenting people a fantastical journey with amazing graphics. And I would say easy gameplay, just because even if you die, the game is kind of showing you what to do, next. Whether that's a dodge, a block, a jump, attack an enemy a certain way. Like, there's a time where right before I died on an encounter, I did a special type of combo move thingy that then like totally decimated. I was like, oh, that's all I had to do. So then when I went back, I did that. And I was like, oh. And then, yeah, sometimes you could do that. A lot of it is how many charges you have. There's a lot of little gameplay nuances that really make it seem deep, but they're arbitrary because they're kind of independent. I don't know how to explain it. Anyway. It was just interesting analysis for this kind of game that I don't normally play. So, all right, let's talk about Days Gone. I only played 39 minutes, but it seems like I played a lot more. The only reason I'm playing this is because I think I had it or have it on PS4, and I played a little bit. And at the time, I didn't really care. And so, because they came out with the new updates, even on PC, I was like, okay, well, let me play. And the game looks and runs incredible. It looks so good, but you can tell, maybe someone like me, after playing Assassin's Creed, if it wasn't for Assassin's Creed, I'd say this game still stands of like modern. But with Assassin's Creed, how good that looked. So beyond that, the gameplay is really good here and really fun. I enjoy it. And I think I see the thing setting in that might be what sometimes gets me out of these games, but I'm going to try to stick with that one. And that's when the game, you're playing a game, but then there's some meta elements, and some meta elements I like and I don't like. This is, and I might like this, is what I'm saying. This one's really about stopping, getting supplies, random encounters. And by random, I mean like you may have to stop somewhere to do something, and then you don't realize there's some zombies or whatever. That is actually a really cool flow that I don't think I've played in a while, so I might appreciate this from Days Gone. I don't know if any of you out there have played it, but the controls are great. It's interesting. It's interesting playing it in how it feels like it's not doing all of the tropey modern open world things, but it's interesting. This was made by Sony. This was made by Ben Studio. They're ones that, I think Sony gave the boot early on, and they were older veteran developers, if I'm not mistaken. And so I think there was a lot of that, classically trained experience of game development that's put it on display here. Because even with all of the different mechanics this game's introducing to you, riding, third-person shooting, crafting, looting, stealth. They all work seamlessly together, you know, and I think that's done really well. Will I play more? I might, just because it's been a while, I feel like, since I've just played some schlocky action open world first person. Let's see. Or third person. Let's go back. And you know, Rise of the Ronin is probably closest to that. Although a little different. Rise of the Ronin is more character action game, and Days Gone's more of that. What I'm trying to get at. More of a traditional. Actually, that would be more in line with an Assassin's Creed. But the difference being with Days Gone, even though they're both open world games, the way I see it is Assassin's Creed's kind of more of the melee combat style games. Days Gone leans more into the, you know, shooting and stuff, which have different gameplay. Oh, long screen. All right, let's jump into some news real quick, shall we? Let me but I think that's it for what I've been playing. I mean, I've been playing, you know, that SD G-Gen Eternal on mobile, not too much. In fact, I didn't yesterday because I've gotten a lot of gameplay out of it, and I've enjoyed it. Again, it's like it's one of those things where if this was a paid game and I was able to access all of the content the game has by playing it, I would actually be playing it right now, or like consistently. But because it's just kind of a mobile game and it's like, okay, you've done the main levels, we'll drip feed some levels, and it's like it's hard for me to really like stay with it, you know, even though it's fun. What was the other thing? I think that's it. Okay, some news. Far Cry 4 now runs at 60 FPS on PlayStation 5 following new update. So cool for Ubisoft. This game was released in 2014. I never played this one. After Far Cry 3, I kind of just stopped. I liked 3. So that's really cool that a game that and I say I think that's cool, but Xbox does this all the time. And Ubisoft does this all the time. It's Nintendo and Sony that charge for game upgrades. Let's remember that. Xbox gives graphical updates or upgrades on games for free. Sony and Nintendo charge for it. Just throwing that out there. And just want to shout out Ubisoft because, again, Ubisoft is that good guy developer. They are also given a free update. They're also trying to make it where that Crew 2 that I never played, but apparently is really good. They make it where even when everything shuts down, you can still play it. So, all right. So Xbox working on 3 new controllers. It's claimed. Let's jump into this. From what I've heard over the last few months, there's 3 prototypes for the controller. Gordon said, from what I can tell. One of them is sort of like a basic, cheaper controller, like the standard one we have now, with some next-gen enhancements, whatever those are. Hall effect, back buttons, Corden, maybe even click, mechanical. Corden then continued saying that there would be a mid-range style controller as well as an elite, or a proper Elite Series 3 controller from Xbox. Okay, so that makes sense. If we look at their standard controller they come out with, that's probably what their base one is. Then there was the Elite, and then the Elite 2, which the Elite Series 2 is more of an upgrade of the first one. Not like an additional, but to have a basic, a mid, and a pro really makes sense. So this could be, and I've talked about this on the channel for the past year, but Microsoft could be looking at that third-party Chinese controller market, or third-party in general, not just Chinese. It's just in China, there's a lot of Chinese manufacturers making really good controllers. But the fact that all these companies can make controllers better than Microsoft. So for the first party, for Sony, for Microsoft, for Nintendo, they should make multiple types of controllers if they really want to compete and have people buy their accessories. They have to rely on money making from accessories. So I could see them having like the base Xbox controller. I don't have one with me. That would be the cheap one. Something like the Vader 4 Pro would probably be a mid-range. I think this one is 70 if I'm not mistaken, but you can, it doesn't have all the main, this actually does have most of the main features of a Pro. Has the trigger stops, has the back buttons, the mouse click feel. I guess the only difference would just be them figuring out, okay, what parts do we include in a mid-range versus the Pro? I would say the Pro would, for instance, probably have swappable different types of back buttons. These, they're just built in. Maybe swappable thumbsticks, although these can come out. And here's something else this Vader 4 Pro does that no other controller does that I want all controllers to do is the tension rings that I can right now just turn these manually. So when I'm starting up a game for the first time and it feels a little odd to me, before I go into the sensitivity settings, I will adjust the tension rings on here. And sometimes that's all I need. Hey, JamKillX, good to see you. Okay, so then here's the other thing. While he doesn't have full features of the controller, Gordon believes the high-end controller will have a direct-to-cloud Wi-Fi connection that allows connection via Wi-Fi instead of Bluetooth. The goal here is to eliminate any lag that comes from Bluetooth connections. He added that it will have a switch to switch the controller between cloud and PC console mode. So, excuse me, that was weird. This is the type of stuff that we need to see coming out of our first-party game manufacturers, and Microsoft is doing it. The future of the video game controller, the wireless video game controller, is Wi-Fi direct, is connecting it to your router. So let's say I'm here playing on my computer, and then I want to go upstairs and play on an Xbox. I can maybe just press a button on here or switch like they talked about. And now I'm using it. I don't have to resync, redo anything. It's all on the network. This is very neat stuff. This is the type of stuff I want to hear first-party companies doing. So that's good. Anything else? As far as announcements for the new controllers, Gordon doesn't know when that will happen. He says that he thinks it could be announced next year or alongside the next-gen Xbox. He also wanted to make it clear that he didn't believe he had enough info on the possible features, pricing, and release date of the controllers to run a full report, but there was enough to bring it up during the show. Yeah, so that's good stuff. Am I the only one who kind of prefers wired controllers or at least having that option? Yes, you are right. So as long as that option's there, like for instance, this came with an amazing USB-C cable that, I think wired and you know what? I think wired is better tech-wise, but nowadays Xbox is good at it. PlayStation, there's a little lag. It's kind of not noticeable. It depends if it's like a 2D game, I notice it. But nowadays controllers are really good about that. But Bluetooth, yeah, you want to avoid Bluetooth. If you do wireless, it's best. Like for instance, this controller I have, the Vader 4 Pro, has a dock, and you put the dongle into the dock. So this is not using, Bluetooth. It's actually using the Wi-Fi method or whatever, the wireless 2.4 gigahertz or something. Yeah, as long as you're doing that. Okay, so alongside the talk of the controller information, here's something else. Next-gen consoles expected for 2027 by Supermassive Games. Supermassive's parent company, Nordisk, has a long-standing and very cozy relationship with Sony. On its own website, Nordisk proudly refers to itself as the Nordic home of PlayStation, handling everything from sales to marketing to logistics. They've been in the trenches with Sony through 5 console launches, and odds are they're already prepping for number 6. That tracks with recent reports that Sony's collaboration with AMD on the PS6 chip is already deep into development. According to reputable leaker Kepler L2, the SoC design is complete and the project is nearing its tape-out phase. Okay, that's new for me. I don't know. This a key milestone that usually occurs about 2 years before retail release. Translation: 2027 is right on schedule. Okay. The timing makes sense. If you think about when the PS4 came out, PS5, and here's the thing too. Even though they're saying these consoles are coming out in 2027, we don't know what that really means exactly. It's almost like I feel like Sony and Microsoft are going to have their flagship device to be in their ecosystem. And then more Microsoft than Sony, but Microsoft's main goal is just to have the games and get people to play them wherever. And maybe their flagship device they come out with in 2027 helps set some standards, just like having the Wi-Fi Direct on the controllers. Sony, on the other hand, I don't know what, and for both of these, I don't know if these are, and I think it is, they're going to be handheld devices. I really think these are going to be handhelds. By 2027, in I was even thinking about this yesterday playing Days Gone, how old Days Gone is, and it looks really good. And then we have a Switch 2 come out. Like, okay, Days Gone 2 got a remaster, right? The Switch 2 came out, it's coming out, and it would be able to run that. You know what I mean? Like, it would be able to run that game despite the PC and PS5 getting a remaster. I guess what I'm getting at is I feel like slowly, and I think it's what's going on here. There's that sort of, let's do the cutting edge stuff for those people with the deeper wallets, and then I do think going forward, graphics, especially from first party, are going to be a little. And I think Microsoft is already on that train. In my opinion, Microsoft is already doing that a lot. Other than like Hellblade 2, was it? I think they do things with their first party games where they're not necessarily like cutting edge. So it's interesting. There's so many different things that can happen that we just don't know. It's very exciting. Okay, let's see. This is pretty interesting. Evil Dead possibly being delisted. Delisted on PS4 now. Delisted on Epic Games Store, which is where I got it. Here's the first comment. The biggest takeaway I have is I was so excited for this when it was first announced until I saw it was a multiplayer game. I love the Evil Dead franchise. I had so much fun playing that Evil Dead game. But playing that single player content that was in it, the different maps, was like, they need to just build out a whole full on campaign, Evil Dead campaign. It's there. It's already there. They just have to piece it together. And you know what? It was a very hard game too. I want to go back and beat they added the Castle Army of Darkness. And I never did that. I need to do that. It's just, I was just kind of disappointed in general with how the game turned out. Same, I was hoping for RE4 but Evil Dead and the return of the one-liner button. Damn. If you're a game studio with Evil Dead license and your plan is anything other than an RE4 style action horror slaughterfest with Gears of War style chainsaw melee combat, then you've misunderstood the assignment. Wow. Something sort of like Evil West, but with humor and focus. Yes. I'm glad reading this that there are people out there that understand what an Evil Dead game should be. And no slight, again, to the developers of that Evil Dead multiplayer game, because I bet part of the green light of that game being made in the first place to the fidelity it was that it was multiplayer, since, that's the thing. But yeah. Hey, Talos, what's up, man? Good to see you. Okay, let's see. And then I wanted to talk about V Rising. So V Rising came out with an update. This game is really, really, really good. It was in early access for a while, and it came out May 8th, 2024. So that's when I played it, right? Because right before it came out in early access, or right after, and I talked about it on the show last year, it had the Castlevania DLC, and that's what got me. So I got the game, and in fact, I didn't get to the Castlevania DLC until late in the game, and I didn't even finish it. Like, actually, let's look that up real quick. How much time did I spend in V Rising? 37 hours, which I think is a lot. Remember, I've talked before about 20 to 30 being a sweet spot for a game for me, unless it's something like an epic like Elden Ring or a Zelda or whatever. But V Rising was so fun. I put 37 hours, 58 minutes, and didn't even get halfway through what the game offers. It's an insane game. What's also very interesting is they came out with DLC, like a whole new expansion, and apparently it changes the combat. Now, I don't know the details, but what it sounds like, to play the new DLC, you have to start a whole new game. But apparently this was communicated early on, before they released it. They were like, and it's free, as far as I know. So it's like, am I willing to start a new game again? And because here's the thing, like I feel like you put so much time into a game like V Rising. It's isometric. Let me go back to the Steam page. It's isometric. It um but it has like real time action combat, as you can see here. Like when you're done, like even looking at the combat, uh, I feel like I was just playing this yesterday. Oh, Tristan the Vampire Hunter. I miss playing this game. Yeah, I feel like I was just playing this yesterday. Maybe that's what 37 hours does to someone. Make it feel like they were in it. And that's the thing. This has really good combat, but it's still cooldown based, like a typical action RPG. So it still has sort of the Diablo-like managing of the combat. I would prefer to have total control. Again, like I understand it's like action RPG like, but if they made this game to have more traditional modern action combat, that'd be pretty amazing. But then I wonder how much that is when it comes to action games. By having cooldown systems in place and other arbitrary things, it stops the player from being able to beat a game 100% with skill, right? So like Clear Obscure, if there was no if you didn't have to worry about parrying in that game, I think you would always beat it. I don't know. Because the only time in that game that I feel any risk in This Is Clear Obscure again is when there's an enemy that I don't know what its attack timing is going to be yet. If I already knew that, I would beat the game. If the game didn't have that system, I would beat the game. You know what I mean? So I feel like they make these combat systems and they're like, you know what, that's a little easy. We need to do something so the player can't just make use of something. I don't know. That's probably a bigger discussion. Let's see. The new update is fun, but I haven't gotten yet to the new content. Yeah, that's going to take a long time, right? Wouldn't that take a while? Like, what level do you have to be to get there? To play the new update, in general, you need a new save, but it's worth it. You can still go back to older saves. Yes. So again, you still have your old stuff. The new update just has so much content that changed from previous. Okay. So yeah, so you're saying the new content, which is called Invaders of Oakville, is it like different enough where I'm playing a new game? I don't feel like I'm starting like a whole new vampire, because I feel like early on in V Rising, it's a lot of the mundane, get all this, start building this. Part of me doesn't want to go through that again. But incredible game. I just can't believe how enjoyable that was, and I wasn't even expecting it. Okay, this I went through a lot of content. I thought I wasn't going to have anything to talk about, so we'll add some more stuff I thought interesting. Diddy Kong Racing related in development, potentially. Who knows if this is true. I loved Diddy Kong Racing when it came out on the N64. I felt like it was the right way to do another, like Mario Kart, essentially. But it just had a lot more neat gimmicks in it, and I'm surprised. And then I think they did a DS version, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, this is just speculation, but so this is just some dude pulling some stuff together. This is just speculation, but I randomly came across something strange on X from a month ago that seems to have been missed. I'm curious on people's thoughts. Basically, someone posted old artwork from Diddy Kong Racing, and another tweeter replied, "Love this game, still want a sequel." Then Kevin Bayless, who was in charge of redesigning Donkey Kong for Rare in 1994 and created Diddy Kong, replied with a wink. Kevin now works for Platonic Games, which consists of ex-Rare staff. What do you make of this? Is it possible I'm reading too much? So these are the 4 points. Platonic have been commissioned by Nintendo to make a Diddy Kong Racing sequel. Wait. Is he saying that's what happened, or he's assuming Platonic are making a spiritual successor to it? Oh, I see what he's saying. 4 options. I said points. My bad. Kevin has heard something about a sequel to Diddy Kong Racing being in development. Kevin is a troll, just like... Okay. This is pretty good stuff, but to me, it makes sense that Platonic would be making their own, like, ukulele cart. They've been making the ukulele games. Cart games are super popular. So this is maybe them saying, hey, look, we should do this. This is going to make us money. And that does seem like a good idea. The other way, I can see Nintendo hiring Playtonic to make a Diddy Kong Racing, just because Diddy Kong Racing isn't like a premier Nintendo title. And Nintendo has a history of hiring Western developers from other countries, wherever, even in Japan, they will hire outsiders to develop their stuff. Metroid Dread, infamously, I don't think Metroid Dread is a Nintendo quality Metroid game. That wasn't made by Nintendo. They hired Mercury Steam to work on it, which for Mercury Steam, great game. And here's an example. I don't want to be mean. And I feel like I'm about to be mean. Give me a second. Let me look up their new game. What the Blade? Wait, what? No. What was that game that? What? It's not even on here. That's strange. Let me go to their Twitter. It's like Blades of something. Yeah, there we go. It's even in Blades of Fire. Okay. Blades of Fire. This looks fun, and I am going to play it. But you can tell by looking at, and it might be hard because this is like cinematic. The game kind of has that like cheaper, low budget, janky looking animation. I remember when I was watching it earlier when he did a swing and then it was like back at his chest, like instead of an anime. That doesn't matter, right? But okay, here's a combat. So here we go. See,
to ensure you're using the right weapon.
That's also okay. There we go. There's some HUD elements. And you will see the game looks cheap, but this is what Nintendo. I would say this is what Nintendo even does internally, but they're able to make it not look that way. Because Nintendo graphics don't have to be all that. Anyway, I felt like I was talking bad about this because saying how this doesn't look like a Nintendo quality game, yet this is the developer that made Metroid Dread, and I didn't feel like that was a Nintendo quality game. But this game does look good. In fact, this game, and I don't know the details, it uses the A, B, X, Y buttons to do directional combat. And to me, that sounds awesome. So also, the other thing, too, I like to add sometimes if the game's graphics don't look that good, the art direction can make up for it. And I feel like some of the art direction going on here, especially like the colors like in the world, could make up for that. Anyway, that was a lot of talking just then. That's been on my mind about this game, Mercury Steam, Metroid Dread. Let's see. Almost like a new game, the combat changed a lot. See, that's what... Oh, the grind is easier, too. The drops are bigger now. Okay, so that might make up for everything. I played a couple hours and I already have a large castle. Oh, okay. Well, you've sold me on it. That's cool, Talos. Yeah, I think that was the main thing. If that's what they tweaked, that was the right thing to do a year after the game comes out. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. Well, I'm going to head to work. That was a lot of fun, though. Glad we got to talk. I think the main thing here is getting inside information on the controllers Microsoft's working on and kind of get an idea of like what PlayStation's doing, with their follow-up. Still up in the air, but a lot of newer technology is being used. So I'm going to head out. This was a lot of fun. But until next time, be cool.